ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another video here on Ty Drives. My name is Ty, behind the camera as always, and this is the all-new 2022 Volvo C40 Recharge. So this is a really neat all-new model here, kind of based on the XC40, but if it were a coupe, you know, one of those cool like sort of fastback looking SUVs that this vehicle is. And in this video, we're going to take a look at all the features this has to offer. So both on the exterior, we'll move our way into the interior, kind of show you all of the features that this vehicle has to offer. And we'll also, at the end, make sure you stay tuned. We're going to strap this GoPro on my head and take this for a point of view test drive. So we'll see what it's like to drive this vehicle as well. Before I get started, huge thanks to Valenti Volvo Cars of Watertown, Connecticut, for providing this car for me to shoot today. First of all, up front we have these very nice adaptive LED headlamps. So LEDs for all of your bulbs, daytime running lights, LED turn signals, high and low beams, everything up here is all LED powered. Going along with the LED lights, also fog lamps down below are powered by the likewise LED headlights. We also have these little cutouts on the front bumper for the headlight washers, and as you can see, parking sensors span the front bumper. A very neat grille, sort of a smaller air inlet down below, and sort of a more solidly blocked off grille up there. You also have one camera up front for the 360 camera view. Very neat color for this vehicle, sort of a kind of like a baby bluish color, and pretty cool hood. We'll see what's underneath that hood in just a minute. And we also have these very unique looking 20-inch alloys. Now mostly blocked off because of the aerodynamic advantage to having sort of a more blocked off wheel, but you get the black pockets on the inside, and the tires measure 235/45. We have black cladding surrounding the trim on this vehicle, and lots of gloss black trim on this car on the upper half as well. Full panoramic sunroof, it is fixed in place. Our mirrors have the blind spot indication and LED turn signals, and we also have smart key on all four of the door handles, so you pretty much just tap your finger right there to lock and put your hand behind the handle to unlock. And this is where the C40 differentiates from the XC40. So as you can see, it's more of a sloping roof design here. Really neat shape on this vehicle, and it kind of gives that a coupe appearance. That you get the same wheels and tires out back. Very neat design for the rear tail lamps. As you can see, the typical Volvo tail lights go all the way up the tailgate, which is very nice, but again, all LED powered back here. We have the C40 emblem down below, the Volvo emblem that spans the rear deck lid, and the Recharge twin engine badge right there, which is pretty awesome. We also get the reversing camera and a trunk release right over here. But take a look at the set of spoilers. So I say set because there's actually two. Look at that. So that's pretty neat on the top of the glass. And then sort of at the base of the glass, you have a little bit of a smaller spoiler. Really neatly designed vehicle. I think this is one of the only vehicles I could say I like the styling of the back more than the front. So that is pretty neat. Let me know what your thoughts are on the styling on this new C40 in the comments below. Alright, so underneath the hood is where we could kind of talk about this vehicle's powertrain. There is only one available. So the battery that this vehicle has is a 78 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery, and it has two motors, one for the front axle, one for the rear axle, making this a full-time all-wheel drive vehicle. And those motors in conjunction produce 402 horsepower and 486 pound-feet of torque. So those are pretty impressive numbers. And in case you're wondering about charge time, it's going to take you about 8 hours to charge from 0% on a 220 volt plug. Under the hood, not a whole lot to see at all. So it's pretty much covered all around. You have the reservoir for the windshield washer, and then we also have a little bit of storage up here. Probably just prop it up like so. And there's a little segmented storage, and if you lift this little pad up, you can see that you have the tire inflation kit for this vehicle. So pretty interesting under the hood segment over here. All right, let's see what the cargo space looks like in the C40. Now again, based on the XC40, we have just about the same amount of cargo space. However, the sort of fastback shape does rob a little bit of height from you. So as you can see, it's more at an angle. So that's the only thing really at a disadvantage that you'll have with the C40 versus the XC40. Now take a look at this. Blue colored carpeted floor mats, and when we get inside, you'll see that all the carpeting in the vehicle is that blue color. Really interesting sort of design theme there. So we have cargo extensions to either side. We have grocery bag hangers also to either side, and we also have this cargo shade that kind of hangs from the trunk lid. We have our charging cables that come with the vehicle, and a pretty cool load floor in the fact that you can kind of segment it. So you can kind of segregate your storage back here into two separate parts. We also have the jack for changing your tire and a little bit of extra space back here as well. So that's pretty neat. Up here we have a couple of buttons, one to close the trunk and lock the vehicle, and just one to close the trunk. So take a look at that door panel with the blue carpeting. Really neat, kind of matches pretty well with the paint color on the outside. The materials are all right back here, so they're pretty much soft to the touch, this sort of leatherette material. By the way, this is a full leather-free interior, so in case if that's something you're worried about, this car has no animal skin in it at all. We have a lock button back here, as well as the window switch and a little bit of storage down here. We also have the 8-speaker Harman Kardon audio system on this vehicle. Some little pockets too here to store different things, and you can also fold down the rear seats with this little handle right here. If we lock it and then press the button there, the headrest will fold down, and you now have access to the trunk. Fold the headrest back up. As we get inside here, we can see you can also fold down the armrest with a couple of cup holders. And I adjusted the front seat to a normal driving position for myself, and I am 5'10". So take a look at how much space we have back here. A good 2 inches of rear leg room back here, so that's pretty good. We have a couple of air vents back here and a few USB-C charging stations and heated seats for the rear as well. So that's pretty neat. As you can see, pretty large panoramic moonroof, or sunroof I guess you could say, but I am kind of upset to say there is no shade. So this is kind of what you get here. You know, if the sun is shining down on you, there is no shade to close it. And it also doesn't open, so it's just fixed. But we do have some LED lights back here, which are kind of tap illumination, and a pretty cool headliner too. Take a look at the front there. Some pretty neat trim on this vehicle. So instead of like a metal trim or a wood trim, you get this sort of textured plastic design, very contemporary looking. We have 2-person memory seats for the driver's seat. We also have power child locks for the rear, as well as power folding mirrors. Pretty large storage console over here, again with the blue carpeting. We also have the Recharge branded sill plate. An air vent to the left of the dash, gauge dimmer, and your trunk release. We have the hood release over there and our pedals, and of course the more blue carpeting, which is pretty neat. And we have full powered seats with this sort of suede insert in the center, and sort of an R-design seat if you're looking for that sort of sporty seat. That this car has it. You also have four-way lumbar and the ability to extend the thigh extensions, so that's pretty neat. Alright, let's check out the rest of the interior here. Alright, so here's the key for the vehicle. Pretty traditional Volvo key fob with the buttons to each side. So we have the lock, unlock, trunk release, and panic alarm over here. And then we also have a little slide here. Kind of takes the key apart, and then there's a physical key on the inside in case you need to use that for any reason. But to start the vehicle, fairly interesting process, and I'm not too sure how I feel about this. So to actually start the vehicle, you either put it in drive or reverse. Then of course you could put it in back into park if you just want the vehicle's accessories on. But interesting way to start the vehicle, to say the least. But to start off, let's start with the steering wheel. So we have this leather-free, leather textured steering wheel here with all of your adaptive cruise control buttons off to the left and to the right, all of the buttons to control the screen up there, and they also double as audio controls. So you have the up and down buttons here for the volume, and then the skipping back and forth for the different tracks, voice commands, and various other controls for the screen up top. Behind the steering wheel, we have all of our lighting controls, so automatic high beams. We also have front and rear fog lamps, as well as the turn signals. And to the other side, we have the wiper stalk. But as far as the gauge cluster goes up here, we have the ability to get the navigation map up here. So if you kind of have navigation going or a destination set through the Google Maps system, the map will actually show up in the center, and there's sort of two different views. So we have that would kind of be like the map view, and then sort of more information to the side, so an actual speedometer, and then sort of your power gauge over here. Various other things like your lane keeping assist thing, a little indication up top, exterior temperature and things like that, and then also your charge percentage down below. We can again press this button over here to sort of magnify what's in the center of the screen, or kind of press the OK button in the center to sort of bring up some trip informations, such as you see here. So not totally configurable, a very good looking screen, but definitely could have some more information that you could put through that screen there. Upper dash is nice, soft to the touch. We have a Harman Kardon speaker in the center. Some more of that pretty cool looking contemporary trim to either side of the screen. And this is the new Google-based Volvo Infotainment screen. Simplifies it quite a bit from the old one, which is already pretty simple. But this one is actually pretty neat. Not a whole lot of features that you can go through, but we have Google Maps built in, which is very nice. You can see you can just input a destination quick up there. Map is very beautiful and moves around just nice. We also have some settings over here, and sort of it'll actually find different EV charging stations along trips. So if you're going you know, for a little bit of a trip, it'll kind of find you the EV stations that it thinks you should start at, and sort of set that as the navigation on your way to your final destination. So that's pretty neat. We have your Bluetooth connections as well as your phone screen, so sort of like your music and everything like that on here. As you can see, Sirius XM, the regular radio, Spotify, things like that are loaded into the vehicle. And we also have the Google Assistant here, which is kind of like your voice commands control in this vehicle. We can also choose to have this sort of other home screen right there, and sort of more settings over here. So we have some different driving modes, so we can put in off-road mode, and different things such as your safety assistance. You can turn that on and off. We also have one pedal drive, which is pretty cool, and they also give you a little control there to make the steering wheel a bit firm, because if you're driving it around, the steering is very light. So I guess that's pretty cool that they give you two different steering feels in case you like the sort of heavier steering feel. And we're going to keep the one pedal drive on for our test drive so we could see what that is like. Other various things like charging settings and things like that are in here. Sound settings and different profiles you could set up, system settings, a whole bunch of stuff. And then we also have our heated seat and heated steering wheel controls right at the bottom for the driver and the passenger. And then we have a sort of devoted climate control screen from the bottom there. So we have all our defrosters, AC, recirculating, things like that up top, and then kind of where you want the air to blow in the middle, and your fan speed on the bottom with your dual zone temperatures, and you can kind of sync it in the middle as well. So that's pretty neat. You also swipe from the top and get some various things, like you can input your own Google account and everything like that. But pretty simple screen, I have to say. And sometimes simple is better. Down here we have quick access controls for your hazards buttons, as well as your defrosters and some the audio volume and skipping for the tracks. Down below we have a 12-volt power outlet, as well as two USB-C inlets, wireless charging pad, and a little bit of storage to either side. We also have this little sort of, I don't know if you could say it's a sort of ashtray or some sort of small storage space like that. A couple of cup holders, and this brings me down to this pretty neat gear selector here. So it's hollow all the way through, which is pretty cool. It's got this rubberized texture. And of course, since this is electric, it's a single speed transmission. So we pretty much just put it down into drive like so, and up into reverse. You can see pretty nice backup camera once you put it into reverse, and you also have the guidance lines, and we also have the 360 degrees view camera system up here, and you can also kind of just tap on the different areas to see, you know, the front camera, the rear camera, and things like that at that time. It also gives you the option to turn on and off your parking sensors and your auto braking for the rear. And we also have the little P for park, and it's actually an automatic electronic parking brakes. There's no actual separate control to put on and off the parking brake. It all goes with the park gear in the transmission. We have little storage pockets to either side over here. Again, just a really neat design element with the blue carpeting. I really like that. A pretty nice center console here. We lift that up. Pretty good amount of storage in there. And we also have this sort of removable, I like to call it a trash bin, because it's sort of like a trash can. You just kind of boop, put all your candy wrappers and things in there, and then you remove it and empty it. So pretty neat little thing there. Our glove box down here, which is pretty nicely sized, sort of a bin style, and you also have a shelf up there for the owner's manual. Taking a look up top, we have the visors with the lighting and everything, card holders, and they also extend a black light over here, and a few different controls up here for your LED illumination, SOS buttons and things like that, and just sort of kind of like your all-on lighting controls up there. Rear view mirror is frameless, auto dimming, and also has the garage door openers on the bottom there. And it looks like the front two passengers have their own grab handles. But that pretty much does it for the features of the C40 Recharge. Let's get this thing out on the road and see how it drives. All right, driving the all-new Volvo C40 Recharge. Now, just activating the one pedal drive. I've only really ever driven one other car with a one pedal drive, and it was a Tesla. Getting used to that, it was pretty funny, and kind of just getting used to this again. It's kind of strange if you haven't done it too often or it's your first time doing it. It's a little bit of a strange system, One thing I could really just kind of say to explain it is, you know, the accelerator is obviously used for your accelerator, but as you back off the accelerator at a certain point, it will start deaccelerating even though your foot is still on the accelerator. So that's kind of like the best way I can describe it. It's pretty interesting, and you really don't need to use the brake pedal in actual driving, unless you have to like slam on the brakes for some reason. You can honestly just use one pedal, as it suggests, one pedal driving. So coming to the stop sign right here, didn't touch the brake pedal at all, and we're at a full stop. Pretty amazing. Just something that I'm not used to. I'm kind of getting used to it. Just, you know, some things I'm picking up. But throughout this drive, you saw that the turning circle on this vehicle is pretty good, and because it's a, you know, nice small wheelbase to this vehicle. And throughout this drive, we're kind of going to take it on this main road here, where we have it's kind of like a 2-lane highway here. Usually lots of traffic, so we kind of get a good feel of what the vehicle is like up at speeds of, you know, 45, 50 miles an hour. It's also pretty windy today, so we get to test out the wind noise definitely as well. Once this section of driving is over, we're going to take it up to a back road where we're going to test out the acceleration. I like to get the car up to 25 miles an hour, punch it, and then see how fast it gets up to 60. And then it's pure backroads driving. We'll see how it is on some uneven pavement, some sort of not very well taken care of pavement. We'll kind of see what the suspension is like, and this has rather large wheels for the size of this vehicle, so we'll see how it absorbs all the bumps and whatnot with the suspension. So I can tell you that there's a little bit of road noise coming from those rather large wheels and tires, but nothing to write home about. I think it's just kind of an adjustment from the electric vehicle. You really don't hear any engine noise. It's kind of all you're focusing on is the tire and wind noise and things like that. But it is, for the most part, very, very quiet in here. Now, there aren't really any driving modes per se. As you saw before, there is an off-road mode, but for the sake of this video, we're just gonna leave it like it is. There's no, you know, real sport mode or anything like that, but for the acceleration test, we're just gonna get it to 25 and punch it and see what happens. We are working with a little over 400 horsepower. In a car like this, I can tell you, I did sneak peek punch it before, and this car is just downright fast. So we'll see what we can do here. Wow, that is seriously fast acceleration. What a thrill. You can actually feel the tires struggling to get grip. It's quite the acceleration feel from this vehicle. Maybe just one more time. And the suspension, this being sort of a more comfort oriented suspension, just kind of squats and goes. This is a very fun vehicle to drive from the acceleration standpoint. Definitely puts a smile on my face. Pretty compliant suspension through the turns too, so it's definitely a pretty nice suspension setup so far within our drives, you know, doing a couple of corners, and but also a comfortable one over the bumps. A little bit further on down the road is a very bumpy section, and that'll be the true evaluation of what it's like. One more thing I wanted to point out too, as you saw in the features review portion of the video, there was a toggle for steering feel, and so the default is kind of like this very light steering feel, but if you toggle it over to the sort of more stiff steering feel like I have it now, it actually stiffens up quite a bit, which is awesome, because on the setting it was as a default, it was kind of a little bit too light for me. I just kind of had no feel to it. It's very numb, but it is good to see that you can firm up that steering feel, and it definitely feels much better, to me at least, on the more firm steering. And it's pretty nice over, or I should say through the turns, so not bad at all. And the sort of lack of sidewall, it kind of gives you some trade-offs. You know, you don't get as much, I guess you could say, body roll, that sort of feel, you know, through the corners. I'm not sure how to describe it, but that also gives you, it suffers a little bit in the ride quality department with the larger wheels. You know, this is the roughest part of our test drive here, and it is pretty rough. You know, this road is not well taken care of at all, but that is good for us because we get to evaluate how this car rides, and it is all in all very comfortable over these bumps. You know, you do get some noise from the tires and suspension going over these bumps, but you really don't feel it all that much. Seats are very comfortable. They offer a pretty good range of motion with the four-way lumbar, as well as the thigh extensions. So thigh extensions, I'm really big advocate of. It's you know, if a car doesn't have the right amount of thigh support, for me, my legs get tired on a longer trip. So that's kind of an important feature for myself, at least. But yeah, pretty comfortable seats. You know, Volvo's always been known to have perhaps maybe the comfiest seats in the industry, and I do know people in my family who will only buy Volvos simply because of the comfortable seats. Yeah, this vehicle is it is fun. That acceleration is no joke. It is fun. It's about 400 horsepower and just under 500 pound-feet of torque. And that is plenty to have fun with, especially because it's just instant. And you have all that power available to you that fast. And that is an upside to the electric vehicle. Now, as far as range goes, I'm not quite sure if I remember talking about this in the video. We'll probably see just over 200 miles of electric range, so about 220 miles Volvo claims. All right, what are my wrap-up thoughts on the all-new C40 Recharge? I really like this little vehicle. I've always been a fan of this sort of size of vehicle, whether it be a sedan that's relatively the same size or an SUV. It's just kind of a perfect size for me. So that is one thing that I like about this vehicle. You know, if you don't have a lot of kids or you don't have any kids, perfect size for this car. And it's really nimble too, so you can get through the corners. It's of course very fast, this car. Not quite as fast as some of the Teslas, but it definitely is enough to put a pretty big smile on your face. So you can have some fun driving this vehicle as well. It's got plenty of features, just a little bit pricey, this vehicle. It starts around $58,000 and this one is around $60,000. That's quite a bit of money for a car of this size. But, you know, again, you have some pretty neat trade-offs. Be fun. So, very good vehicle, nice size, plenty of power, and very nice design on the inside as well. And I hope you have enjoyed this vehicle just as much as I have. And I also hope you stay with us here at Ty Drives for more videos just like this one.